Welcome to the Queens of the DMV, Real Talk and Real Estate. I'm one of your co-hosts, Cher Castillo, and I'm here with my lovely co-hosts today, Ariel and Arnita.
Hey, y'all, welcome back. It's Cher Young.
Oh, not yet. But before we get into that, let's, as always, please follow us on Instagram and YouTube at the Queens of DMV. And of course, listen out for us weekly on Thursday. We took a little bit of a hiatus, but we're back. We had to rejuvenate and regroup. And of course, I was holding the Queens back because I was getting married. But now we're back, and today we're talking about a hot topic, one that we deal with all the time. Are you getting too emotional in your real estate transactions and not protecting your client, but protecting your ego?
Love it. Can you say that last part again, Cher? Protecting you and your ego. What was that you said?
Oh, not protecting your client, but protecting your ego. And I do have side eyes next to that.
Yes.
So I know we see a lot of this as we deal with our appropriate transactions. I mean, I deal with it on a daily basis where I got to kind of take a step back and have a conversation with the other side and say, you're getting too emotional. This is not your house. Mm-hmm. This is your client's house, and you need to protect your client's interests. So why are you letting your emotions and your ego fall into place?
Yeah.
And, sometimes that works when, I have that very direct conversation with agents. Sometimes they get more upset, but I feel like it's something that has to be said, because if you allow your emotions to take over a transaction, you're not really protecting the best interest of your client.
And sometimes they're not thinking clear. They don't act in the most legal way either when they get their emotions caught up into things. They're
the agent.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Because you often could overstep your boundary. You could break some rules or regulations that we're supposed to be following. Emotions can get you really caught up in things that you shouldn't be doing.
Mm-hmm. Not only that, I use myself as an example because it happened to me one time where I was emotional and I was supposed to be representing my client correctly, but I wasn't because I was very emotional. Mm-hmm. And, this other side asked me for something, probably because they kept asking. And I said, absolutely not. No. And they said, okay, well, call your client and ask your client that. And I was like, okay, why she say no? The client said, I don't mind. I said, oh my gosh, this is me. So I've been there. Mm-hmm. We all have been there. But since I did that, I never did that again. I always said, check yourself, ask your client, move on. My client had no problem with even doing it.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I know one thing I practice that helps me stay out of my emotions. Buyer said, seller said. Mm-hmm. That way, I'm not speaking on their behalf for them without asking them or any of that. I'm always, starting out the conversation or doing the negotiations. Buyer said, if I'm on the buy side, seller said. That way, you're just really, you're a mediator.
Yeah.
Really getting caught up.
That's actually a great practice and to implement, because I might think that way, but I don't actually say it like that. And saying it like that puts it definitely into perspective.
Now, I don't know about you, because sometimes you're the seller and the client.
Exactly.
Well, it's funny that you said that, because I just had a deal recently close, and I felt like the agent was getting very emotional, and he's like, well, I'm just protecting the interest of my buyer. And I'm like, well, I'm just protecting the interest of my seller, which just happens to be me, and at the end of the day, yes, I'm the seller, but I do have partners too. So I have to not only think about, what would I do, but what would my partners, and consult with them, how do they feel? And, not getting caught up in the opinions but, looking at the facts and all the pertinent facts that apply to that specific deal. And I think it's hard sometimes, especially when you start working with family and stuff. It's like, you're selling a house for your mom, or you're buying a house for your dad, or whatever it is, and you're the one representing them. It's like, it's kind of hard not to be emotional. So you may have to give yourself pep talks along the way, but you do have to check yourself in those overly emotional situations, so you're still looking out for their best interest.
Definitely.
Yeah.
I guess so. What are some, some advice that we can give, the audience on, what they can do to not get too emotional?
I think one thing is, like, you don't have to share every detail of what the other agent says, and I think oftentimes a lot of agents do that. And I'm just kind of like, your client doesn't need to know that. Like, the client, the buyer or the seller's agent, whatever side you're on, can be the worst person in the world, but you don't actually have to share that with your client.
That's a
If the deal is falling apart and they need answers, then perhaps. But if they're just acting like a jerk, or doing or not doing what they're supposed to be doing, then I'm like, keep that to yourself, because it's already a stressful situation. And by giving too much information, I feel like it's making the buyer or the seller more stressed out.
Yeah, I think there's a borderline though, when you're talking about giving too much information, because we do have the duty of disclosure. So,
but not of emotions.
Yeah, no, really. But I think what we could say in that instance is just basically sharing the facts.
Yeah, exactly.
The transaction. I don't need to know that the seller's angry.
That's what
I don't need to know.
Don't tell me that the seller. We don't need to know.
I don't need to know that you did 100 transactions. That doesn't matter to me. I want to get this one closed.
So now you're going to go there. Let's go there. Are we going there to when the agent on the other side starts? Well, I've been in business for 35 years.
Yeah.
And I'm like, Google 35 years and 4 transactions. And what?
Exactly.
Survey says you're still doing it wrong. 35 years later.
Well, that's where the ego comes into place, right? Like, I mean, nobody cares, like, and my thing is, as an experienced agent, when you're working with newer agents anyways, like, I'm of the thought process that I know I have more experience, so I'm here to help you. I'm not here to tear you down and take advantage of the fact that you're not as experienced as I am. But I also don't want to hear that you have 35 years of experience, because that's not going to help me negotiate the deal any different. Right. Whether you have 5 or 35, I'm still negotiating the same way.
Definitely.
Exactly.
But, also being able to step back, to like know when you're getting, like, how do you guys know when you're getting too emotionally involved? Like, what's an indicator for you?
That we're getting angry.
Okay.
It's why we should get,
or if I'm avoiding the calls or the communication.
Yeah, that's another thing.
If I'm avoiding communication and calls with you, or if I feel like, the interaction isn't good, sometimes that has a lot to do with the ego part of it. And not so emotional. But I feel like when the ego starts in the beginning, it turns into the emotional side once a transaction gets going.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what I feel. That's what I feel like it progresses to that.
Yeah, because then we're a little nervous to make the call, each
side. Or you're rehearsing what to say.
Right.
We've been doing this for a while. I don't need to rehearse what I'm going to say, but I also have to listen to how I'm saying it to make sure that, this conversation doesn't go left. Or you resort to everything being in writing. That's how it could be getting a little too emotional as well.
Yeah, those are great points.
That's for me. That's what I notice about myself.
Yeah, I think for me, it's definitely like I feel like I can feel my blood pressure going up when I'm answering a phone call. And not even that I'm non-confrontational, because I'm very confrontational, but it's like
me too.
I'm not.
Arnita's not.
It's much harder for me.
But I mean, if I have to choose, I want a pleasant transaction, and I don't. I prefer not to have like a contentious situation. So I try to diffuse it as much as I can, but with some people, they just have difficult personalities. So it doesn't matter how nice you are, if you're putting a lot of thought into how you write the email or how you say certain things, they're still going to be jerks.
Right. Now,
So
I remember we had a deal together last summer, and
yeah.
it wasn't easy. It wasn't, but we worked together to get it done, and it was really both sides.
Yeah.
It was difficult, but we worked together to get it done. It was not anything difficult that we couldn't get through, and that's another thing too. Leveling with, I know we know each other, but we don't know all of these agents. So, calming the agent down and saying, look, let's get this done so we can work together.
I've said that so many times.
I've said it so many times.
Absolutely.
You want it done. I want it done. Where can we meet in the middle where we can both get it done and everybody is happy? And a lot of agents are not really willing to do that.
Well, I don't think those agents that are closing deals, though. They're not closing.
I don't understand that. I don't understand that mentality. And, because I'm sure all of our husbands hear us on the phone having these conversations with clients and stuff. And Darren is always like, I don't get it. Don't you guys all want to get to the closing table? I'm like, yes, we do. I don't understand why, why they're not trying to get to the closing table. And that's why I think it's such an important topic, because it's who cares about your ego? Who cares about your emotions? Like, if the common goal is to protect your client and negotiate and make sure everyone is as happy as they can be and get to the closing table, then how do we facilitate that as agents? And not everybody is under that mindset. And it's very tough to deal with an agent that's not under that mindset, because they're just trying to fight you the whole way. It's not even about the deal.
I think the issue is lack of negotiation skills. And what they do is they view it as a threat versus the opportunity to have a segue into meeting halfway or finding out what the meeting point is. I love to negotiate. It's me getting to understand what your client is, if I'm on the buy side and I'm negotiating for my buyer, it's me understanding what the listing agent and what that lister wants, that seller wants, and communicating that to my buyer to see where we can meet in the middle.
Yeah.
So both sides are happy. We're having Moet at settlement, and everybody's excited for the transaction.
Right.
But if you're working with the agent that lacks communication skills, they do see it as an argument. They see it as a threat. They see it as, a bigger situation than what it is. And I always talk to the new agents like, listen, this is what the client's looking for. If you don't think that your client can meet that, just send me your offer and we'll look at it and see what we can do with it. And they're like, what? Yeah, I mean, we're both trying to get to the settlement table.
Right. Absolutely.
So, I think it's lack of negotiation skills as well.
Also, lack of knowing your contract. A lot of the agents don't read the contract and they don't know what the contracts mean. So most of the time, if you refer back to the contract, it states right here that this cannot happen or it can happen. And so why are we fussing about it? Because this is the contract right here. So if you know the contract, then you need to just go ahead and to explain to your client that either let's just tackle EMD. You can't get your EMD back. Or, you need to go in and to mediation.
Right.
So a lot of things we have to take ourselves out of it and just use the contract. This is what the contract says. Exactly.
Right.
And a lot of times that doesn't happen either. They need to know the contract.
Well, they write one thing and they are actually meaning another. And that's also, room for, misunderstandings and stuff like that. Because you're writing an offer and you know what it's supposed to say, but your contract doesn't say that.
Right.
And I see that a lot, because that's why I ask for an offer cover sheet, because what is the offer? I look at the cover sheet and I look at the offer, it doesn't match. Now I have an issue, because I'm going to call you and I'm like, well, what are y'all trying to do? So that's another thing. I believe lack of contract knowledge is huge too.
Yeah. So at what point do you guys seek counsel from like colleagues or your broker when a transaction is just too emotional?
Once I'm about to cuss a bitch out, like, she be the first one or you be the first one I call. Seriously, because I gotta calm.
So who gets the call?
Get me off the ledge, please, huh?
The thought is I'm about to cuss this person out, so let me call my broker first.
No, she calling us.
No, I'm calling y'all, and then I'm gonna call my broker because my broker like to talk.
Calm her down. She's calling us so we can calm her down. Most of the time, you both still don't.
No, Cher doesn't calm me down. Cher like pumps me up. Dude, you don't quite calm me down. You be having me thinking of other ways that they need to go down. So, but it's just something to share the drama with. Yeah, like once I'm to the point that I'm like cursing, I'm like, okay, this isn't. Yeah. Let me chill out. And then like maybe a margarita or a cocktail happens. That's how I know I've reached my limit.
Yeah. I'm usually calling somebody first, an agent. Somebody said, well, I've called you plenty of times, Ariel. and she hypes it up.
No, I ask questions first.
You ask questions.
Like, so what happened?
And then she hypes it. Oh yeah, I dealt with that lender before. Don't you? Don't you ever again. But yes, I usually call another agent first. We
like, am I tripping? Like, you gotta check yourself. Like, I'll
let me know
myself.
if I'm lunching or not. Am I tripping? What's going on? And then if I'm wrong, I'm wrong, and I've been wrong, so it's okay.
Yeah, but that's us checking our emotional side. Definitely. Like, okay, was I acting emotionally? Like, am I tripping, or what's going on here?
Definitely.
That's the first thing I do, and I'm calling either one of y'all off the break. But legal situations, stuff like that, you definitely want to contact your broker first because you don't want to get in any legal trouble, with anything.
What about emotional. You, Cher? Who you calling?
I think for me, I mean, I'm calling you guys, but I'm, like I call my broker when I feel like I'm getting to the very like end and I'm just like, this is about to blow up, Then I feel like I have to start CCing on correspondence. I have to start, I have to start protecting myself. And I believe that since like COVID started, agents have gotten crazier and like people in general have gotten crazier. And I don't know if it's because just emotions are high, especially, at the beginning and when the market was so crazy. I mean, in 18 years, I feel like I had like the craziest emotions ever in the last year and a half. And, I'm like, well, maybe the relation is COVID and selling and buying and just like all the pressure around, what's happening in our world, but also the biggest sale of your life. Right. So I'm like, I can't take any chances here because I feel like people are super litigious right now. So, after I call you guys, I am calling my broker. And, if I feel like I just have to protect myself, then that's where I'm going next.
Definitely. I agree.
Yeah, I agree with that route. But then you have the overly emotional client. Yeah. So my thing is, yes, we've been talking about agents and their egos, but how are we handling clients that are, kind of in that climate that are causing the transaction to be emotional? Because I want to say like during COVID, like you just said with COVID and everything, I feel like I've had a lot of those kind of clients.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I have them a lot.
And I don't know if it's because of the because of what's going on right now or what.
I just think people are just nervous. I mean, the buying process is very nervous. People are nervous with doing it. So, a lot of times when things get out of hand, we just have to calm them down. And I'm totally good with doing that. That's why I know how to manage. That's why you have to learn how to manage your clients.
Yeah, manage people. Manage clients.
Because your clients can be the ones that drive you crazy.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, let's just be honest. We have some clients that you meet in the beginning and they just sweet as pie. And then you get to deal with them and they turn Dr. Evil on you.
Absolutely.
So managing your clients' expectations can be another reason why we don't want to answer the phone or we're sending emails.
Mm-hmm.
So, having a drink, breathing, making sure, before you talk to them, you just breathe, and tell them. Now I do it. I just go ahead and rip the band-aid off and tell them. I can't hold it anymore. I used to be the one who holds it in for a while and wait a couple of days. No,
Hold what in, Arnita?
Hold in like bad news.
Oh, the bad news.
Or hold in something that they don't want to hear or something. Mm-hmm. Now I have learned to just rip the band-aid off, tell them, and then give other suggestions.
Right.
Because the problem is when you don't come to them and have another suggestion. That's the problem.
Yeah, you want solutions.
Yeah, so it should be, when you're coming with them, you need to get it ready. You don't have to call them ready right away. Get your solutions in ready so you can discuss it with your client next. So that's what I would say.
Most of our job is problem solving, and a lot of agents don't realize that, but we're here to solve a problem.
Yes, we are.
And we're here to solve problems throughout the transaction. So where we said, lack of contract skills, lack of, just negotiating skills, it's also lack of problem solving.
Mm-hmm.
If you're afraid of problems and you want every transaction to be smooth, real estate is not for you. Because we gonna have some obstacles.
I wish everything was.
I really, I really wish that all transactions were easy, and we do get those easy ones here and there, and I love them, but it's not realistic.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So we have to be problem solvers, and I think that's the part that I actually like about real estate is solving the problems as we go along, and we come across issues.
Oh, because there will be problems.
Well, because there will be. And that's where you earn your keep. That's where you earn your referrals. That's where you're coined as the queen, because you're able to solve issues and you're able to get people to where they want to be despite, whatever it is that they have going on in the background, financing or whatever the case is. So I would add that to the list too.
Definitely.
So with your clients, in saying, how we're talking about managing their emotions and expectations and everything, do you ever feel like you have to take a minute and like actually step back and have empathy for them, especially if they're first time home buyers and, they started out sweet, like Arnita said, but then they turned into monsters along the way. And it's not necessarily who they are, but the stress of it all has just turned them into like a buyer monster. And
I definitely have.
Yeah.
But I've also been to the point where, they might not have been a first time home buyer and they've been through this before, and they're acting a complete ass. And those are the people that eventually I think about firing, or it crosses my mind and I do it, because it's added stress that's not there.
Mm-hmm.
And so, I will manage it for a while, talk to you, calmly about it, work through the issues. But it's, once you start cursing at me or being disrespectful, or, putting people in the transaction that don't belong, like, oh, my aunt said this and that, and that, once we start getting to that point, or if you've told lies, if you're so emotional that you told me a lie, and, now I have to, work through this lie that you told, I don't know how many times I'm going to be able to deal with that. So those type of clients, I do kind of tread lightly with on, being sympathetic, because they know what's going on and they're choosing this avenue and making it harder for this business transaction to take place. And no client is worth my license. So if you're lying about something, I can't proceed.
Yeah. Another thing that, maybe we do, maybe we don't, is have self-awareness when we're dealing with not only agents, but clients as well. Like the emotional intelligence, like self-awareness piece. Like, do you guys know what triggers your emotions in a business transactions, and knowing yourself well enough to be that aware that you're like, okay, that just happened. So I need to take 2 steps back and regroup and come back to this conversation. And if so, what are some of those triggers for you guys?
I have one that just came to mind when you said that, and it popped up immediately. Bait and switch.
Oh, we were talking
my
about
goodness.
that.
If you say one thing and do another, that really grinds my gears. And I'm not talking about basic stuff. I'm talking more like you know, there's an offer on the table and we're all negotiating it, and we're well into 2.5 weeks of the transaction. And now all of a sudden your client needs $10,000 in closing help.
Oh, when they were trying to renegotiate after you have a ratified.
And I'm okay with renegotiation to make the deal work, but I asked questions in the beginning. Does your client need closing help? How are we strong in this transaction? Are they using a program? Oh no, they have cash. They're closing and blah blah blah. All of a sudden, 2 weeks later, they need $10,000. How did we get here? And not only that, you lender pre-approved them for way more money than this house is going for. They don't have the money for this. What would make you think they have the money for $50,000 more house? So I'm just like, that bait and switch. Like, I'm gonna put this offer in to bait these folks, and then I'm gonna change it up once it's accepted, and that happens all the time. And that makes us look like liars, or it makes us look like we're not being truthful.
Yeah.
You know, so I have to explain, and they're like, how are they able to do that? And, you know, this type of thing. So, you know, I have to say bait and switch gets me hot. It gets me real hot.
And I feel like that's happening more often than it used to.
It is.
You know, people are offering you full price, and then the home inspection comes, and then they try to negotiate $50,000-$60,000 off the price. Like, what?
Right.
Yeah.
That bait and switch don't work. This is the thing. Write your contract up so it's negotiable. That way there's no questions asked. Oh, but if you write it up if it's negotiable, that means it won't get accepted. So you're trying to, you know, teeter the line, and I get it. I feel like a real estate transaction is negotiable all the way through, depending on what the terms are. But the point is, don't write something up to make it look attractive and then pull the cover off of it, and it's bullshit underneath. You know what I'm saying? Like,
right.
Let's keep it real.
Right.
Let's keep it real, and let's, you know, be straightforward and honest about what's available, what we're working with, and how we get to the finish line. I think those type of transactions, you know, are more smooth. Yes, it might not be what you want, but it's straightforward. And a lot of my clients end up going for those type of offers, not the ones with all the fluff around it.
Right.
So, you know, that's the situation where you get into this bait and switch. But that's my trigger point. You wanna make me mad? Do some bait and switch on me.
It doesn't take much.
Tell me we going to get Mexican and we go to Taco Bell. I'm gonna go off.
I think for me, my trigger point is when you start talking about your resume and I don't care.
Like, because we don't. We've all been
not
in this
your resume.
We've all been in this for a while, and the next deal is going to be different than the first one. Everything, every deal we get in is different. Every deal.
Yeah. Not your resume. So what, like, if I came in and I was like, yeah, I've been doing this for 20 years, you're going to be like, so?
Yeah, I don't care. Like, I mean, because the thing is at the end of the day, just because you've been doing something for a long time doesn't mean you've been doing it well.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You know, like somebody can have less experience, but they're doing a better job at what they do than you do. So, you know, flaunting your years of experience or whatever, and just because you did 100 transactions plus doesn't mean, you know, you didn't get sued in half of them. Like, that doesn't matter to me.
Yeah.
So, like, let's just get through the deal. Like, let's stop talking about how you feel, how this person feels. And I have had that conversation so often with other agents. I'm like, I don't care. Like, I just want to get the deal done. Like, I don't care that this person, like, okay, for example, when they start talking about, well, the seller is in a very bad situation and they're going to have to bring money to the table. And that's not my issue.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not here to protect your seller in that deal. I'm here to protect my buyer. So that's unfortunate. However, this is what you listed the house at, and this is what you accepted, and this is what you're going to get at closing or not get, And it's not that I'm trying to be rude, but you can't look out for both sides of the deal when you're supposed to be protecting one side of the deal.
Yeah.
And that's why it's tough. Like, yeah, I'm sorry, your client has to bring money to the table, but that has nothing to do with my client.
Yeah. I had they went over $10,000 over that they would pay $10,000 over appraised value. It didn't appraise. They had to come in $10,000. Then she came back to me and said, "Oh, can they do $7,000 instead of $10,000?" That is not. That has nothing to do with me.
Yeah.
Talk to your client and tell them they need to pay it because it's already in the contract. So I get it.
And get it. Like, you have to ask. They have to ask.
I was just about to say. Now, granted, they have to ask. But you should also let your client know that they had it, that's what it was in the contract.
Yeah. So what are some final thoughts?
Her triggers. I want to know.
You didn't share. Oh, yeah, you did.
I want to know what it is.
I have a lot of triggers.
We can't tell.
Too hot.
Really?
Yes.
When you meet the client at first and they just so sweet. And then they turn into so that has nothing to do with it.
That's your trigger. That's when you're like,
Yeah.
I'm like, oh my God. Yeah, so that's my trigger.
I feel like that happens often. I mean,
it does.
It's like you probably have a 70% chance of that happening where somebody.
But I would say that I'm good with managing. I'm not, y'all two can flick off. Y'all two.
I'll flick off on my clients.
No, you don't. No, y'all don't. But y'all,
we call you to do that.
But you also don't back down either.
True. Yes.
Well, I'm good with, managing them and making sure that, look, so I won't get, because it takes a lot for me to get there. So it has to be constant picking and being horrible and nasty for me to like totally flick off. So I think I'm good with managing still that expectation. It's just that you meet them at the first table and it's just sweet. And then, and also managing that things might go wrong or something might happen during a transaction. Nothing is perfect.
Right.
And I always
you share that in the beginning of your listing.
In the beginning, thank you, Cher. Yes, buyers and sellers. But I think they
have amnesia. Yeah.
Yeah, they do.
Oh, they have big amnesia.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, my other trigger is lack of communication from the other side. Like, that takes me out of here because I'm like, I don't care how bad the news is. I don't care if the deal's going to die. Like,
I don't care if y'all need an extension. I need to know
whatever it is.
Yeah.
Just be upfront with me because I can't help you if you're not telling me the truth. So, and if you're avoiding me, that's not going to help the situation because then I'm not really going to want to help for you and advocate, for you. I'm just going to, at that point, I'm like, for my client, I'm just like, this may not be the right situation. They're uncommunicative, they're stringing us along. It's time to move on and find the right buyer or the right seller. So,
and that goes for everybody, the lender too. That goes for everybody.
Yeah. Everybody.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I think it pisses me off more when I don't hear from the lender
versus the agent.
Yeah, because I think that the lender is kind of driving the scenario at some point in the transaction, especially when you get to that part where the appraisal is ordered and they're processing, underwriting, all of that, and everything slows down and you don't hear from the lender. Just like right now, I have a closing tomorrow, supposedly. I haven't heard from the lender or the buy side in the last 24 hours.
Wow.
We got to be at the table at 9 a.m. Yeah. If it's not happening, I need to know. It's 3:44. Ain't heard from nobody.
And especially that same lender that called you and said, my client is good, everything's gonna go fine.
Oh, that's always in the beginning.
In the beginning, now you don't call me no more.
Right.
So
in action the day before settlement, that's not good.
Yeah.
That's not
So
good.
does the communication matter if it's like automated or versus like a live phone call for you?
Not really. I actually like the automated. It cuts down on the number of calls because then I know where the file is. Yeah. And I appreciate the lenders that use that. I still check in and make sure that everything's matching up with what's being automatically sent, but what's being automatically sent. But the point is, that feature I do like.
Yeah.
Then I can report to the customer and let them know, hey, this is where they are. This is what's going on, and that type of thing. But I do like a live person, especially if there's an issue.
Yeah, if there's an issue, I want a live person. But I like my little automated updates. It makes me feel very happy when I say, when it gives you like the different steps.
I love it.
Yeah.
So what are some final thoughts we have for the audience today? I mean, from every aspect, really, as the agent, as the buyer, as the seller, like what can we, or how can we guide them in terms of successfully maneuvering through a transaction without getting too emotional?
Well, I would just say try to take your emotions out of it. Put yourself in the client's shoes too, and just try to nurture them and don't you be scared or mad. That's another thing. Don't be mad when you're calling your client. You all rah and giving your client when they don't need that. They need calmness and to tell them the truth of what's going on. Maybe not everything. You might have to talk to yourself first to see how you're going to say it, because I've done it plenty of times. But just be calm to your clients first, and just know to take your emotions out of it. You're just there to get it done, and try to figure it out from both sides. Meet both agents, have a conversation, and get a common goal to get it to the closing table. That's it.
Yeah. I think mine is going to be like, stick to the facts, like just stick to the facts. Do not deviate, and then my other thing would be like, don't get caught up, like don't get caught up in everyone else's emotions, because you're the leader in the transaction. So your energy is going to transcend down. And so if you're getting anxious, they're going to get anxious. If you're getting, in a bad mood or whatever emotion you're going through, it's going to reflect on to the client. And don't let the client's emotion catch you up and, get you in a bad mood or give you anxiety or what have you. So yeah, just don't get caught up and stick to the facts.
Yeah. So for me, I would say stick to the facts. That's what I was going to say anyway. But to add to that, use buyer said, seller said. That way you're just a mediator at that point and relaying information and not putting how you feel into the situation or how that person feels. This is what the buyer said, or this is what the seller said, and you're out of it. And I would say the third thing is just calming yourself down before you deliver bad news, or news that you weren't expecting, or news that wasn't quite on target with what you thought you should receive. And practice resolution skills, like Arnita had mentioned earlier, on delivering bad news, but then also coming back with the plan B or C that you can act on with your client, considering the news that they weren't really expecting. So becoming more of a problem solver at that point.
I have an idea, y'all.
What?
Role play real quick?
Sure.
I think this is going to be fun. So
okay, let's role play.
Okay, so I'm going to be the agent, the bad agent, put it that way.
Okay.
Ariel's going to be the good agent, but I'm going to call you the buyer. Okay?
All right.
Okay. Ring.
Who you call?
Hey.
Hey, Cher. No, I'm sorry. Hey, Cher, how are you today?
Great. How are you, Arnita?
Oh my God, Cher. Guess what? The sellers need the sellers need a delay. They are delayed. They can't move out right now. I'm so pissed off. I cannot believe it. You know, oh my God, I'm gonna call that agent and I'm gonna tell her that you need to be in that house immediately and they need to get out right now. Oh my God, can you believe this? Don't you need to be out of your house immediately?
Well, I do, but you know, things happen and I understand. So just kind of find out what and how much time, because maybe I can make it work, maybe I can't. I need the specifics, but don't go attacking the agent because you want the deal to get to closing, and so do I.
Oh my gosh, Cher, you're so calm. I'm so sorry that I called you like that because you are so calm. Oh my goodness, I was the one acting stupid. So thank you. I'll definitely talk to them. So probably we can just, just push it back just a little bit for you.
Yeah, but not too back.
You got it. Thank you so much, Cher. I'll talk to them and I'll get right back to you.
Okay, talk to you later.
Look at that. Look, I received a call like that before.
I'm on pump.
Yeah, but you need a redo because most of the time they're not going to be calm like me.
Exactly. Okay, so you're the agent,
Okay.
the calm agent.
Oh, I'm the calm agent? Okay.
And then Cher, you're going to calm Cher down.
Okay,
I'm calling Arnita?
I mean, no. Cher's going to be the one that's going to be flicking off.
Okay, so I'm calling her.
Yes.
Oh, so I'm the agent or the buyer or the seller?
You're the buyer still.
I'm still the buyer. Calling my agent.
Either way, we need a calm person.
I'm the good agent. I'm the good agent, and I'm calling the seller.
Yes, that's what they're doing.
Hello. Hey, Cher.
Hey, how are you? You have some good news for me?
Actually, I just found out that the appraisal is going to be delayed, which more than likely will.
What do you mean the appraisal is going to be delayed?
I know. I'm not sure what's happening, but according to the lender, they're saying that the appraisals are a little backed up right now. And so the appraiser can't get
Ariel,
out.
you know I got to close on Friday. No and, ifs, or buts about it.
We'll try to see what we can do.
No. No, you make sure you know what you can do because I'm closing on Friday.
Okay, listen, we'll figure it all out.
But how are you going to figure it out?
Because we need to get the appraiser out there first.
So you're going to call the appraiser?
We can't close it off the appraisal. So we got to get that done first.
Well, no. No, I'm not happy about this. If I don't close on Friday, this deal is going to fall apart and I am not selling this house anymore.
So let me just ask you a question. What is your showstopper? I know you need to close on Friday, but is it because if you're going to incur more costs, we can actually go back to the buyer and, see if we can add a per diem to cover the cost.
No, it's just because I said so and I want to close.
Oh my goodness.
You're doing good, are you?
Listen, we'll figure it out, but I don't think that we're going to be able to close without the appraisal being completed. And it's
you better figure it out and call me back because this deal is dead if we don't close on Friday. That's all I know.
Understandable, no problem. I'll give you a call back. Thanks again.
Thanks. Bye. That's real. That's a real conversation I've had before.
Or I'll hit you with the, hey, my phone's breaking up. I'm gonna call you back.
Absolutely. Well, we've done it all today, ladies. We've done reenactments. We've given tips. I think we've delivered on all the things you can do not to be emotional in today's market.
Yes.
So until next time, this is the Queens of the DMV signing off. I'm Cher Castillo, young.
Yes.
And my co-host.
I'm Arnita.
And Ariel in one room today.
Yes.
I like this vibe. We need to do more in one room together.
I know. We definitely do.
Yeah.
Until next week, we are the Queens of the DMV signing off. And as always, follow us on Instagram and YouTube, and listen to us on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts. So until next time, we'll see you next week.
Bye.
Bye.